Hey, happy Friday. Welcome to 3 to Grow. Again, the idea of 3 to Grow, take 3 or 4 minutes, grow yourself as a person and as a leader. It's Friday, January 5th. We're at the end of the first week of 2018. Hopefully you had a good week. Got just a couple of ideas and a quote on my whiteboard I want to share with you. The first one is what it takes. So I had a coffee one morning this week with someone. He's getting ready to graduate college. He reached out to me through LinkedIn and said, "Hey, would you be willing to sit down and talk?" And we had a great conversation. And one of the things that he asked me was, Dustin, what do you see are two really important qualities that leaders need to have if they're going to do well, if they're going to succeed at everything that's asked of them? And instantly there were two that came to mind. Let me show you. Here's the first one. Is self-awareness, and that leaders need to be self-aware, that we as leaders need to recognize our blind spots. We all have things outside our normal sight, and we have to be aware of them. That means we have to ask for feedback. We have to ask people to speak some truth into us, and we need those. And we need to be very self-aware, because there's nothing worse than interacting with a leader who's not self-aware of how he behaves, of the words he says, of the way he makes people feel, the way he treats people. There's nothing worse than dealing with a person who has no self-awareness. Now, the only thing worse than dealing with someone who has no self-awareness is someone who has self-awareness but doesn't have this second thing that's needed. And this is why I have this arrow, because the second thing that I feel is important for leaders is humility, because without humility, self-awareness doesn't matter. Fine, you can tell me I act like a jerk. You can tell me I come across as rough and harsh and come across as uncaring. And I can maybe even recognize, yes, I do. I know I do. I'm just going to keep pressing, and it's just the way I am. But if I don't have the humility to do something about it, then it doesn't matter. Right? Leadership really is about having the humility to recognize I don't have all the answers, that I shouldn't get all the credit, that I need to take more on me in terms of blame than my team gets, because it's not all about what I'm after. Because if I make it all about what I'm after, then I'm not really serving anyone, and then I'm really not leading by any definition. So to me, the two things that I think are really, really important for every leader is self-awareness and humility. Here's a second idea. This is a quote, "Dying is easy, young man, living is harder." It comes from actually George Washington in the musical Hamilton. So I got tickets over Christmas going to see Hamilton in Chicago. Really excited about it. So I've been listening to the soundtrack, love the soundtrack. And this is a quote that George Washington says to Hamilton when Hamilton's ready to be a martyr for the revolution. And Washington looks at him and says, "Dying is easy, young man. Living is harder." And I feel that way about leadership. When I heard that quote, the first thing I thought of was, isn't it just easier to do what we want, what we feel is the right thing to do? But it's really hard to change. It's really hard to adapt. It's really hard to shift your mindset. Dying is easy. Wanting to be a martyr was easy for Hamilton. What was harder was the fight to live and change the mindset. And that's how we are as leaders. Leaders, you have to remember that dying is easy. Just going about life normally, that's easy. You can do that. You can go along. Living is harder. Changing is harder. Growing is much harder to do. So ask yourself, where are you changing? Where are you growing? Because if you're not, you're just taking the easy road out, and you're really not doing yourself or your team any favors. Okay, quote of the week. If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. Thomas J. Watson, chairman, CEO of IBM from 1914 to 1955 or 56, I believe, really saw IBM become a global superpower in what they do. Leaders, you guys make a difference every day, and that difference can be for good or for bad. That choice is yours. For those of you who are working at making a difference for good, I want to thank you for all that you do. I'm excited to come alongside and work with you guys in 2018. Don't forget, think differently, lead courageously, live passionately, and have a great weekend.